Welcome to the Purple Positivity Podcast for August the 20th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my new used desk in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Yas. What is up with that yas? I should really just stop doing that, but I won't because it amuses me. Anyways, so, BA in English. It always sounds like so random, right? Well, that's how I like to start the show. I like to start with something random. My mom always told me that there was no degree more useless than a BA in English. That all a BA in English qualified you to do was say, would you like fries with that? I have since decided two things. Number one, philosophy is a much more useless degree. So, hey. Because I'm an English major, I gotta point to somebody else. No! See? Look at those stupid philosophy majors. But it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Because BA in English, BA in philosophy, whatever. The point is, number two, it doesn't matter what your degree is in. It matters what you do with it. What I always point to when I hear people making English major jokes, which I don't hear a lot of, but every now and again you get around some academic types. I always point to MC Lars. Oh, I love MC Lars. Oh, I've actually met him. He's really, really super awesome. But he is an English major. And he may not be Jay-Z or whatever, making millions and millions. I don't know how much he makes, but he survives. And he, not only does he survive, he really seems to thrive. I mean, he works his ass off. Day after day, month after month, year after year. I've been watching him for 9 years now. And what he has done with his BA in English is he has essentially created a subgenre of hip-hop, indie hip-hop, which he refers to as lit hop. He raps about literature. He has this whole EP called the Edgar Allan Poe EP. It's all about Edgar Allan Poe. He raps about Shakespeare. The first song that made me fall in love with him and his music is a song called Hey There, Ophelia, which is basically Hamlet in 3.5 minutes. It is awesome. My favorite song of all time at this point is Dragon Blood, which is about Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. He did a TED Talk about literature and hip-hop, or Shakespeare and hip-hop, and I mean, it is really, mind-blowing what this guy did with a BA in English. Because that's what he wanted to do. And so he did it. He got the degree that he wanted to get. And now he's living the life that he wants to live. And the reason I bring this up is because before I started recording this show, as I tend to do, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I have an idea. Most of the time I don't. So, I was out on one of my groups on Facebook, and somebody posted something that said, does having depression make you a good psychologist? And I sat there and I thought about it, and I formulated about 3 different responses to this before finally going, you know what, let me compare it to having a BA in English. The truth is that having depression can make you a great psychologist. It can give you insight that other psychologists might not have and therefore cannot pass along to their clients / patients. It may give you a perspective that you can share with your professional cohort that nobody else can. But let's be real about this, is if you have depression, it can hold you back if you let it. But the good news is that the choice is yours. The bad news is the choice is yours. Nobody can make that choice for you. And it's not like something just automatically clicks into place. I mean, maybe for some people. But if you're struggling with depression, generally, it doesn't automatically click into place. It can be an uphill battle. I was pursuing a training in chemical dependency counseling. And I actually heard both sides of this argument. It's like, well, you can't be, if you have struggled with addiction in the past, you can't be a great chemical dependency counselor because you've messed up in the past. But I've also heard the other flip side of, well, if you haven't struggled with depression, you can't help, or struggled with addiction, you can't help people who do struggle with addiction. And it's sort of this, it's not about what you have or don't have, because everybody's got a different perspective and can bring something different to the table. You know what I mean? Someone who has struggled with addiction, maybe in a counseling session, might be able to say, hey, look, this is what I went through. This is how I got through, and get through to that client. Like, hey, I know where you've been because I've been there myself. But somebody without an addiction problem, generally if you go into chemical dependency counseling, it's because you have struggled with addiction in your life, even if you weren't the one with the addiction. And so somebody who maybe didn't have a problem with addiction, but had a family member or a spouse or a child that struggled with addiction, they could bring some insight to the table that person they're counseling might not have thought of. It all depends on what you do with what you have. That's what it comes down to. You take what you have and you do the best that you can with it. Every gift that we are given, every asset, and every burden that we carry, that can either propel us forward or they can hold us back. How can a gift hold you back, Becca? What the hell? Look, I'm told that I'm a really good singer. That's a gift. 14 years ago, my left vocal cord was paralyzed, and I didn't sing for 6 years. And I still have people telling me, no, Becca, you're still a really good singer. But you know what? I don't sing enough. I don't sing in public enough. And that can propel me forward if I use it. If I don't use it, then it's not going to do me any good. I am visually impaired, legally blind. I like to say blind-ish, because it just simplifies things. I am blindish. That can hold me back, and I have let it hold me back. But by that same token, I can use that to propel me forward. Not quite sure how yet, at this point, how it's going to propel me forward, but it can, if I use it right. If I use it as an asset, rather than as a setback. Same thing with depression and anxiety and ADD and everything else that's wrong with me. I can either use it to propel me forward, or I can let it hold me back. I have a lot of talents. But if I don't use them, what good are they? They're not propelling me forward. Maybe they're not actively holding me back, but they're definitely not propelling me forward. So it's something to think about, because that's your choice. Same thing with the BA in English, which I still don't quite have yet, but we'll get there. Anyway, so let me get into the things for which I am grateful today. I am grateful for Sunny D. You know, I've always got to have some silly food thing on this list. I'm looking at my Sunny D bottle and I'm going, oh God, I am so glad I got you yesterday. Because I had forgotten how good I could feel first thing in the morning. It's like drinking a fresh squeezed glass of hope and possibility, to borrow from Christopher Titus. Yeah, so I am so grateful for Sunny D. Number 2, I am grateful for my muscular system. My muscular and my skeletal system. I had to go to Dollar General yesterday. And I wasn't buying a lot of groceries per se, but I knew I was going to be coming home with a fair bit. So I took a backpack and I walked down there, and it's about a mile away. And I mean, thankfully it was cloudy, but unfortunately it was also very humid. It wasn't hot, but it wasn't cool, and it was humid. And I ended up packing that backpack full of stuff. Again, not a lot of stuff, but enough that thing was full and heavy and painful. And I still had 2 bags to carry on top of that. Not heavy bags, thank God, but still heavy. And so I had to trek back another mile. I was pouring sweat down my face by the time I got home. And I barely managed to get my groceries put away before I just crashed on the couch. But my muscular system helped me carry that. So I'm grateful that I have that. My muscles, they exist. I am so grateful for that